What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can get faster off the line by using these two techniques. So I hope this video helps you guys out. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you'd like to get some work in with us this offseason, we are traveling out to 15 more states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So next up, we'll be coming out to San Francisco, Orlando, New Orleans, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Texas, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. So if you guys would like to work with us for 2 whole days, myself included, we will be doing 8 hours of training total. We'll have DBs out there for one-on-ones. So check out that very first link below, fellas, if we are coming to a city near you. We'd love to have you out. Let's get started. So this first example here is going to be a clip of me working some one-on-one situations here, and we're going to be talking about a kick step. So a kick step is one of the best ways that you guys can get separation off the line. So I'm going to show myself doing this move, and then I'm going to be showing an NFL example of Davante Adams using this exact move to create some explosion. So the release I'm working with here is a wide step release. So a wide step release is a great opportunity to use a kick step. It's a great way to showcase your speed off of that line. So I'm going to play it again full speed one more time. Pay attention to my back foot. So this kick step right here, so many old school wide receiver coaches will knock this step. They will say, oh, it's a false step. You don't need it. It's wasted motion. That is wrong. When you guys kick behind yourself like this, that is a way to load up your hips. You're loading up your hips to explode and actually sell to the outside. Because if I'm trying to get this DB to move, I need to step outside of his frame. I need to actually step to here because that's the only way that threatens him to the outside. You see, when we line up in this press coverage, look here, I got a DB who's an outside shade press. So when he's outside shade, his responsibility is to protect the outside. Force the wide receiver to the inside. Do not let him get outside of you. So if I want him to move, if I want a free release, I actually have to threaten him out here. But I can't do that. Wide receiver coaches will want you to come out flat-footed, and they'll just say, oh, well, why don't you just step to the outside? Because that's not enough explosion. That will not get a disciplined DB. You have to use something like a kick step to load up your hips so you can actually throw your hip and step wide. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, well, you don't want to step wide because that step is going to be outside of your frame. You're going to be reaching too far, and you won't have any explosion back to the inside. But that's also completely false. You kick stepping behind you will not only give you explosion, but it allows you to bring your body with the cut. And that's what gives you balance. This cut is not going to be outside of your frame if you bring it with you. So when I kick behind, I load up not only my hips, I'm loading up my body. So when I step to the outside, I'm selling the route. My hips and shoulders are going to the outside to sell. And that I'm also in a balanced position. That is textbook in terms of the kick step and what you want to do with your upper half. Now, again, let's play this full speed. And then like I told you, I'm going to show you guys an NFL example of Davante Adams doing this. So we go here, kick step behind. That is the best way to get more explosion off the line, I feel. Now, I know what you all are going to say. Why would you kick step if because your feet are crossed? Well, you don't want to do this when the DB is right up on the line of scrimmage and going to get physical. You probably want to go with something else. And in this last example of Stephon Diggs, that's what we are going to show. But let's go over this kick step right now with Davante Adams, then we'll get to Diggs. So let's watch what he does here. He also has outside shade coverage. He's got a little bit more cushion than I had in that last example, but pay attention to his back foot. I'm going to play this full speed. So he kicks behind, and you see how he gets off the line extremely fast and is able to work that slant. So let's watch it again. The only reason he kick step behind is to do what? Load up his hips, right? He loads up his hips. That allows him to actually shoot to the outside with some speed. Fellas, when you're going up against a disciplined DB, there is, honestly, you need something off the line to threaten him with speed. If we don't threaten him and he doesn't feel threatened, he is just going to sit. DBs are taught to try to sit here and be as patient as possible. And if we don't actually threaten them, there is no reason they are going to move. So many wide receivers with any kind of kick step, what they'll do is their first step will not attack. They'll use that kick step, but what they'll do is they'll kick step and their first step will be here. They'll throw like a wide step or they'll try to do all these like lateral movements. That doesn't threaten him. Let's use the kick step correctly for some speed. You load yourself up so we can actually shoot out wide and actually attack him and threaten him vertically. I need speed off the ball, which is what the kick step is for, and that's what this video is for. But it also allows me to get into his cushion and actually attack this guy. Okay, fellas, so kick step is one of the best ways for wide receivers to get a little bit more speed off that line. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great jobs by Adams kicking and attacking that DB, getting that separation. Okay, So last example here is from Stephon Diggs. Like I said, I would break down a different way that maybe if you guys aren't comfortable with the kick step, maybe if your coach absolutely hates it and he's going to freaking bench you for doing the kick step, this is another way to get space. And it's another thing that wide receiver coaches will say, oh, this is a false step. Completely wrong when it is against press. When you do this against zone, that is when it's a false step. So let's play this thing full speed. Pay attention to Stephon Diggs' front foot. So I'm going to play it right now. He takes something we call a prep step. Some people call it a gather step. Some people call it like a balance step. I call it a prep step, if that's an easy way for you to remember. But whatever helps you remember, it's all the same thing. So it is a slight pickup of your front foot. This is the one where every coach is like, oh, it's a false step, that's a false step, that's a false step. But there are countless numbers of examples of NFL wide receivers using the kick and using the prep step because it generates explosion. You need something extra when going up against a faster DB. So what release does he use? It's the same release I used in the first example. He uses a wide step release where he steps with his outside foot wide, trying to sell like he's doing like a speed release, trying to sell like he's just taking one step, one jab with the front foot and doing a speed release to the outside. You have to sell it to get that DB to move, and we sell it with speed. So it's not a big step. That's the mistake guys will make on this. They'll do this prep step, and they'll step this way. They will step backwards. That's not explosion. It's pretty much a step in place. Like you were just picking it up and putting it down so you can use it to push. Because when you pick it up and put it down, that push off of your foot gives you that explosion. That's like another way to kind of load up your hips so you could actually throw to the outside and have that quick release to the outside. But you pick up that front foot and put it down. You push off of that you push off of that front foot to throw your back foot to get this DB to jump out wide. That is a textbook prep step, and that is how we can get explosion. If you guys do this though, and it is against like zone, and this DB's 7 yards off, and you take that prep step, that's going to make a shorter front stride for you in your routes, and you're going to end up running this thing off of the wrong amount of steps, or your route's just going to be shorter. Like, let's put it into perspective. If you have a DB who's at 7 to 8 yards, and let's say you got to run like a 12-yard curl, a 12-yard curl would be off of like your fourth outside step. So if you took a prep step, your first outside step would be about here, rather than coming out of your stance and having your first outside step be here, taking you to 12 yards. So do not do this against zone. That's when it's a false step. You do this against press for a faster release. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job prep stepping, throwing his hip out wide, and then creating that separation. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. I'll see you guys next time.